In the last lesson, we had looked at conditional statements. So we had a simple conditional statement if a equals 2, and if the condition gets met, then we get an output here. So we can also make more complex statements. So if we can do several different comparisons, so if a equals 2 and a is greater than 4, so both of these have to get met in order for the condition to be met. So I'm going to just change this just to show you how we can meet that condition. And when I refresh it, so it says no conditions are met. So that means that when we do a equals 2, so a is not equal to 2, so this is that we're looking at to make sure that both conditions are met. So we can also do something like OR, where we can check to see if this one is met or this one is met, then it's going to turn back true and it's going to output this. And if neither one is correct, it's going to output this. So now when I refresh it, it should come back that one of the conditions is met because we've got an OR statement. So that's how you use more complex conditioning. So besides doing this type of complex conditioning, we also have what's called a switch. So again, we're going to use that variable set a value of a, and we're going to use something called a switch, where we're taking in that expression, and then we're going to have a bunch of cases. So we're going to have case. So if a equals 5, then we're just going to write case 1 met. And always after the case, you have to have what's called a break. So this gives us a break between running the code, and this separates out the different switches. If you don't include the break, then it'll just, if the case 5 is met, it'll just run that and it'll continue to run the other code. And also we could include a default case. So here we've got whatever statements are here. No cases met. And again, we're just going to do that break there. So what do you think is going to happen here when I refresh the code? So we're not doing conditions, but we see that case 1 is met. And now if I change it to something like 3, and I refresh it, we get no cases are met. So this is very similar to doing these types of conditional statements, where you're just doing the same thing. We're doing if the condition is met, but it's another way of writing it. And if you've got a bunch of code here, it's actually a little bit more readable than the typical conditional statement, and it's still looking to make sure that things get met. So we can copy this out and we can check for case 3 and case 2 met. So now when I refresh it, it's no longer going to give us the default where the no cases are met. It's going to tell us that the case 2 is met. So with the break, this is optional, but it does prevent the rest of the code from coming out. And as well, the default is optional. So if you just want to check for a particular case, you can remove out that default if you want to just check for 5 and 3, just like we did in the conditional statement. And also the braces are required, so you do need to have these curly braces, and that's where the code for the switch gets contained.